Veterans Day, America. What a glorious day in a glorious country. Or as the Democratic Party describes it, hell's racist toilet. But maybe after seeing their own grim handwriting on the wall, probably in a unisex bathroom, they're trying to change their own warped view of America. Have you noticed a new word used by frustrated Democrats? It's normal. Yes, as inflation, illegal immigration, and crime spiral out of control, moderate Dems are trying to distance themselves from the idiotic rabble promoting critical race theory and 250 genders by saying, hey, we're normal. And I can't blame them. They're losing elections the way Kat loses hair extensions when she gets the spins. As the Biden administration destroys everything it gets its grubby hands on. Remember how everything King Midas touched turned to gold? Well, everything Joe touches turns to their parents and says, Mommy, why is this weird man's nose in my hair? According to Axios, the news site, not my Greek personal trainer, you can crack walnuts on its glutes, and I have. The word normal is the code word used to separate some Dems from their bonkers colleagues. They want Americans to know that the activist class within their party doesn't speak for them, especially when they speak like this.
With us in government, we campaign with the plan. Uppercase T, uppercase P, the plan. And then the environment is such that we're expected to defend the plan.
Wow. That was her doing a French accent while in France. And it was harder to watch than the View's swimsuit special. No wonder the White House keeps hiding her like a bust of Winston Churchill. She's the vice president that has the administration saying, let's talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. So they sent her to Paris, hoping she might learn something, like why deodorant is so important. But at least Jimmy Kimmel knows why people don't like her.
Americans really aren't happy with this vice president, Kamala Harris. I think I know why Kamala's ratings are low, besides sexism and racism, which are the obvious ones.
Ah, the obvious ones. Well, he is the expert on sexism and racism. Who can forget his pro-women work on The Man Show? Ah, that's progressive. And of course, there are his efforts on behalf of blacks.
Hello, everybody out there, TV Town. This is Carl Malone of the Utah Jazz, here to tell you about Carl Malone home state, Louisiana.
Yeah, I think he's the last guy to call anyone racist or sexist, but that's his penance for his own indiscretions. Smearing you, he thinks, will take the heat off him. He's like a corporation going woke to hide their own corruption. And he smears a ton of people, including his own party. Remember, Harris dropped out of the primaries because she polled at 3%. So I guess according to Kimmel, that means 97% of the Democrats must be bigots. But maybe the Dems don't know what normal is anymore after denigrating it for decades. Remember, two-parent households were once normal. Now anything qualifies as parenting. Love for country was once normal, but now we replaced a pledge to our flag with a pledge to BLM. Respecting the police was once normal. Now they're jealous of Rodney Dangerfield. Keeping violent criminals behind bars was once normal. Now the norm is to set them free like an injured bird you nursed back to health. And look, I hate normal, believe me. This is what I did this morning before I came to work. I hate normal. But the Democrats have moved the goalposts of normal into the parking lot across the street. Even Virginia Democrat Abigail Spanberger complains that Americans elected Biden to be normal and stop the chaos. You know, the chaos in the form of low taxes, control of our borders, record low unemployment, energy independence, revolutionary vaccines. That's some crazy, chaotic Wow, Trump was so abnormal, or what we used to call successful. But that stuff drove the elites crazy, and it was all it took to galvanize them to get rid of him with completely fabricated scandals and a secret election cabal. So, here's the new normal, courtesy of a crooked media.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway. I think I'm supposed to introduce somebody, but I'm not sure who am I supposed to introduce now. I get you guys confused, you know?
Yeah. Now, unless you're a child talking in your sleep, that is not normal. But maybe it comes down to Joe's definition of normal. As long as his life retains its own normalcy, who gives a crap about yours? I mean, he just discovered under his leadership that gas has gone up, and not just the stuff coming out of his butt.
Do you ever think you'd be paying this much for a gallon of gas? In some parts of California, they're paying $4.50 a gallon.
Thanks for noticing, Joe. Nothing gets by you except the occasional BM. But he's good with it, because everything is normal in his cloistered world. He still has his nap at 2 p.m., which is usually when he's being briefed about the latest national security threats. He swims nude at 4 p.m., which is odd since the public pool requires proper swimming attire. And he removes his teeth at 7 p.m., sometimes earlier if it's custard night. And in between, he fits in destroying Afghanistan. Then they lock him inside his room with a coloring book and a box of crayons. Joe says orange and red are his favorite flavors. Tibet has more autonomy. The person in charge really has more people controlling him than Britney Spears. And yet, I don't think I've seen so many things go wrong in one administration at one time. This White House is the political equivalent of an Alec Baldwin movie set. He hates the press and innocent people suffer. Remember those people who lied to us about that Joe was so moderate and so calm? True, he is so different from Trump, the same way my bikini pictures are so different from Margot Robbie's. Trump was in your face, but he was also in your reality. Joe is rarely to be found, even when he's standing in front of you. It's like talking to a hologram. And so it's dawning on the Dems, this is not better than a president who could call on reporters all by himself. You replace the mean tweeter with inflation, crime, Afghanistan, the migrant crisis, a loss of order in favor of divisive chaos that splits a nation in two. I wonder what Joe has to say.
Look, I'm sick and tired of talking about what's normal and what isn't normal, all right? I understand gas prices are not normal, but you know what else isn't normal? OPEC, all right? You know what that stands for? Oil Peck. You know the thing, all right? And you know what else isn't normal? COVID-1972 is when I first got into this business. I've been on this dance floor a long time, so I know normal. You want to know something that's not normal? I got a crappy painting I can sell you for $500,000.
Let's welcome tonight's guest. She knows so much about security, we asked her to work the door. Former Deputy National Security Advisor and author of the new book, Revolution, K.T. McFarland. People look up his tour dates to decide when to be out of town. Writer and comedian Joe DeVito. He's written for top late-night shows that are routinely beaten by this one. WesternRazor.com owner David Angelo. And finally, she's co-hosted Cops and been chased by them. Fox News contributor Kat Tim. First, I'm concerned, David Angelo, you have a thriving razor business. How is the supply chain fiasco affecting your startup?
Well, thanks for asking, Greg. I appreciate the interest in WesternRazor.com. You know, the supply chain has been tough, but, you know, we're made in America, so it's a little easier.
Oh, really?
The only shortage we have, every razor's made with love. And those mines have been closed for months, you know, so we've had some difficulty, but we're getting it together, and they're in stock, so.
Yeah, there you go. How can you, what do you make of this return to normalcy, David?
Who's normal here? I don't, when Democrats say normal. Yeah, but I don't. Democrats rebranding is normal. When I think normal, you know, Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff don't pop into my head.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This reminds me of it's just one of those bad rebrandings. It's like when Philip Morris was like, we're Altria now. We're like a pharmaceutical, basically. You know?
Yes.
Everything's cool.
Yeah, we're no longer tobacco sticks. We're this mysterious whatever that still makes cigarettes. Anyway, KT, it's kind of interesting that Trump's abnormality in government was that he got done and that worked. And that's what was so abnormal. And now the return of normalcy is just consistent.
Nothing works anymore.
Nothing works.
No, I worked for Donald Trump as his deputy national security advisor. In a lot of ways, he was like an idiot savant. He didn't do a lot of studying of the stuff, but instinctively he knew, okay, energy independence, secure the border, America first, build up national security, cut taxes, and it all worked. And it was just going great, as he says, until COVID.
Yeah. What does the revolution refer to in your book?
That I think the country, the United States, goes through these revolutionary periods every 40 years, and we're in the middle of one now. And Trump was a revolution against the Republican Party. What you're seeing now in the Democrats is their civil war. They're having a revolution where the loony left is trying to take you in the direction. But America goes through these periods, and then we come out the other end, and we reinvent ourselves. And I think that's what we're doing right now.
How fitting, having Biden as president. When we're coming out the other end.
Well,
I get another poop joke applause. You guys tried to cure me of my poop jokes. Joe, you tried to stop my poop jokes, and you know what? You failed because America wants the poop jokes. They applauded the poop jokes. All right. Joe. It's amazing how amazed Joe Biden was about the price of gas. It kind of makes me think that he's not that engaged with the people that are suffering.
Yeah, well, I think he's more used to stagecoaches and whips. Those more like from his time, his era. I think we're really starting to look at Kamala now and say this is what's supposed to be coming next.
Yes.
Because she just set a new record low approval rating for a vice president, below Dick Cheney, who shot his friend in the face.
Yes.
Okay? Which usually knocks you down a little bit.
Yes.
And it's so funny to watch that clip of her in France. They're running out of places to send her that are not the southern border.
Right.
And they send her there. She has the worst French accent since the Coneheads.
Yes.
I'm surprised she didn't laugh in French and just go, oh, instead of her usual fake laugh. So, it's a mess.
You know, why don't they tell her that they're going somewhere and take her to the border? Right? What? Because she was probably excited to go to France.
I'm picturing with one of those old-timey suitcases that has the stickers on it that say Kathmandu, Paris, Tibet, instead of just saying, just go to that part of Texas where Texas ends in California, and go take a look there.
Yes. So, Kat, you look at Joe, and I've seen cremated remains that are more cognitively aware.
Oh.
How are they going to, what is going to happen next? I know that's an open-ended question.
I think probably more of this is going to keep happening and happening and happening. But also, again, Kamala's even less popular than Joe Biden is, even though, to her credit, she can form a sentence.
Right. Barely, but true.
That's great, right?
Yeah.
But she also hasn't done anything, which is why it's so remarkable that her approval rating is so low.
Yeah.
She hasn't even tried anything yet or done anything yet, and it's already so low. And every time she does something, it gets even worse. It probably was so low because of that space video.
Yes, I think they had to hire child actors to make her look realistic.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
But she's a perfect life insurance policy for Biden, and that's her function.
Ooh, that's a brilliant point. You got to keep him alive.
Oh, well.
That's a great plan. The guy's 150 years old.
No, but
I don't think they thought this through.
The way he acts, even for his age. I saw my grandfather this weekend, right? And, he's almost 90. And if he had started acting like that, I'd be like, Papa, do we need to go to the hospital? It's not just the age. I mean, I won't live to be 80, so I can't judge him.
Call him Papa?
My Papa? Yeah. Hi, Papa. He's probably watching.
Angelo, you always say that's the solution to all problems. Just call people Papa.
Yeah, when the kids call a parent Papa, they're well behaved. You ever know?
Yes, it's true.
You never have a kid like, hey, I'm not doing my homework. I don't care what you say, Papa. Doesn't happen.
We learned something new.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.